This is Cadillac Unscripted on 107.9 CDY. It's a half hour of local chat. We're talking with people who are making a difference in the community every week on this radio program. This is how it was designed, how we planned it out, Katy, two and a half years ago.
Yes.
And we have a first-time guest today.
I know. I'm so excited.
Woohoo.
Welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
Kate King is the coordinator in Wexford County for 4-H programs. And welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So, Kate, for our listeners that don't know, tell us what 4-H stands for, please.
Yes, so 4-H is our organization. The H's stand for Head, Heart, Hands, and Health, which are all focuses of our life skills program that runs clubs for kids across the whole state, country, and even internationally.
Wow. So many of our listeners, and myself included, when we think about 4-H, we think about the fair. But it's so much more than that, isn't it?
It is, and I am new to my position, so the fair is a whole mystery to me that I'm slowly learning about.
How new are you to this position, and where did you come from?
Yeah, so I started here as the Wexford County 4-H program coordinator in October of last year. Before that, I served for 2 years as a Huron Pines AmeriCorps member with the DNR over in Gladwin County.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah, and before that, I actually grew up in Pennsylvania, but my family is from southern Michigan, so I came up here for my summers. My mom dropped me off, and I spent some of the time with my cousins, the other time with grandparents, so I'm getting to learn about northern Michigan through my career now.
What do you love best about it so far?
The cool summers. Last year was a doozy, but this year is pretty nice up here.
It is. It's funny. She's been to the farmers market. You're helping kids with the fair. But, you said something before we started recording, Kate, that I really struck me, that 4-H is about more than animals. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. So 4-H is originally based in agriculture. Okay. MSU Extension is the educational branch of MSU that's local here in the counties. We're in almost every county in Michigan. So we use the extension program to educate our communities. But back in the day, the farmers didn't want to listen to the old college whippersnappers that were doing the research. So we realized that the kids were out there on the farms with the parents that didn't want to listen to the research. So we started teaching the kids, and then they started teaching the parents. So that's where our roots are. But we're all about teaching kids what they need to know to survive. So we're all about life skills development, whether it's home economics, learning how to sew, do your own laundry. We have a whole series on Adulting 101 that teaches you how to manage your money, how to apply to jobs. Mock interview programs.
Where was Kate when I needed some of these skills, Rich?
Did you need a mock interview back in the day?
I didn't need a mock interview. I needed help with laundry skills.
Yes.
Sorry, but that is true.
And kids today, they're getting even less of it. We don't have home ec in the schools anymore.
Too much time spent on the couch playing video games.
Right.
Screen time.
We include screen time in our method. So during COVID, we really had to change up our approach. So we have programs that are offered from other counties, but they're offered statewide virtually. Okay. So we have a program like 4-H in the Kitchen that actually takes each lesson from a video game. So they did the Vault Dwellers edition that was based on Fallout. And so they cooked meals from the apocalyptic world.
No kidding.
Yes.
So you're taking their skills and you're applying 4-H to the skills that they have.
And meet them where they're at.
Right.
Meeting them where they're at and being there for them as a resource. So we use our clubs as a hook, but it's about teaching them the skills disguised as a fun club. We call it sparks. We want them to find their spark and grow them into future leaders.
I'm amazed right now. And here's why. Rich, how many times did you say to your kids, you're going to want to watch me do this so you know how to do it when I'm gone? Or for me, it was at Thanksgiving gravy. You're going to want to watch Mom make. They don't want to watch us do it. someone else teaching them is way more interesting, Kate. Is that so?
Yes. Yep. We are the visitors that come into the classrooms. We're the fun club on Thursday nights where they get in the river and look for macroinvertebrates to see how healthy the water is. Literally did that last night.
Okay, what's a macroinvertebrate?
That is
Seriously.
so an invertebrate is a type of insect that doesn't have a spine. Macroinvertebrates are ones you can see with your eye without a microscope. So like dragonfly larvae are considered a macroinvertebrate. They only appear in water that is very healthy. So if you're finding a lot of dragonfly larvae, which you identify through a dichotomous key or some other resources that scientists use every day in college, I use them. They use those to be able to identify them and then determine whether the water is healthy or not, dependent on what is present in the water.
Okay. Well, when you talk about life skills, what do you see as the greatest need for you to teach to?
Independence.
Okay.
Kids want to be independent, but they don't know how. They're all about, let me do it. I'm going to be out on my own. I can't wait to have my own minimum wage job where I'm going to live in my own apartment. That don't happen anymore. You need 3 or 4 minimum wage jobs to afford anything down there at the lofts, right?
Gosh, it's true. And for those of us that, haven't been young for a while, Kate, we need to hear these things and know what our kids are facing out there. Can you give us the age range for 4-Hers?
Yes. So 4-H is based on the birth date of the youth on January 1st. Of the year.
Okay.
And it runs from ages 5 to 19 or up to 26 for those with special needs.
Okay. So what would you be teaching 5-year-olds right now?
5-year-olds, so 5 to 7-year-olds, we call those our clover buds. So we really focus on positive youth development, sensory play. We're all non-competitive for that age range. So we're not trying to teach them, I'm better than you. We're trying to teach them, we can all have fun together. And everything that we do has a hidden lesson behind it, and it's all backed by the MSU research.
Excellent. Okay.
So, maybe talk a little bit about the programming that might surprise people. So, some programs that you have that would be unexpected, and maybe you can cover a little bit about programs that maybe surprised you in terms of the interest that there was in them.
Yeah, so the one that I'm really getting a lot of traction for right now is our Target Archery Club that meets over in Music every other Thursday. So that can be done by ages 8 and up. So those kids are learning how to use different types of bows. They can do compound, recurve, all the different types of equipment. And we don't use the W word, weapon. They are instruments for learning. That's what we are doing with 4-H. We are teaching. We're not arming. So this year we're also going to have a target archery competition at the Northern District Fair, which we're very excited about. So kids have to be in a 4-H archery club to be able to participate in that. So they can reach out to me, they can join for free, and then we'll get them in there, teach them what all the whistles mean, how to participate in a competition, and let those arrows fly.
Okay. Whistles and archery. We gotta back it up a minute. What does that mean?
So there's whistle cues for when to load, when to raise your bow, and when to fire on a shooting line. It's all part of our risk management and safety procedures in 4-H. So anyone that's participating in a tournament style competition has to first learn all of those cues in their local club. Again, building those skills up, and then they can go out and compete in other competitions. We have local 4-H competitions. We have a state shoot that's coming up soon, and then they also can qualify for national competitions.
What does your volunteer base look like to pull all this off?
It was a lot better before COVID.
Sure.
So right now, everyone has really realized that staying home on their Thursday nights is a lot better than stressing out, loading up the kids, and having to grab fast food. So we have really started to focus on volunteer recruitment this summer. So I am working on redefining what our volunteers are required to do. how much time commitment that looks like. But honestly, my volunteers right now, some of them, they define what their schedule looks like. Some clubs meet once a month and they do their activity for 2 hours and that's it. Other clubs, like our small animal clubs, we're getting into fair season, so they're starting to meet every week. And that takes a little bit more planning from those coordinators, from those volunteers. So I would love to see so many more volunteers in this program because they're the backbone of it. My job is the coordinator. I'm the paper pusher. I do the background checks and make sure that the people interacting with the children are safe and should be interacting with our kids. And the volunteers are the ones who bring the expertise and the passion, because without that passion, it's just another lecture from school. We need to have the hands-on learning from the volunteers who can really demonstrate to the youth why passion and persistence and independence and responsibility and seeing a project from start to finish, why all those things matter. And that only comes from the passion of a volunteer.
So right now, today, how many volunteers could you use? How many more?
I could easily use 20.
Okay.
We really need volunteers for that clover bud age range, that 5 to 7 year old. I have tons of those kids in my programs, but some of the things I'm offering are a little higher level for them. We really need someone who's willing to have, Saturday meetup at the playground. And this week they're going to learn how pollination works, and they're going to pretend to be bees and go around and pollinate flowers. Or they're going to, learn how to play a sport together that they haven't interacted with yet because they're not in school yet. We have tons and tons of homeschool opportunities around here. We have tons of people who are homeschooling, especially after COVID. That's what they started with. They're just continuing. Those kids don't get the social interaction that other kids get at school. We have a lot of parents looking from a homeschool perspective to find something regular that their kids can socialize in.
How do they get to you, Kate? What's the best way for folks to reach out to you?
The best way, I will promote our Facebook page, Wexford County 4-H. I post on there anytime we have activities going on, and they can contact us directly there. I will also advertise our open house that's happening on Tuesday, July 12th from 4 to 6 in our new office in Baker College. So we moved in November out of the county building and are now in the Cadillac Innovations High School wing at Baker College. So we're right there with some of our target audience. And we would love to see everybody come down, check out all of our programs. We're more than just 4-H. We're more than just agricultural advice. We have a community nutrition instructor. We have a new director of the Alliance for Economic Success who's going to be helping Cadillac rebuild. So we have a lot of people coming. We have resources that are not present in our office that work on a district level. So we'll have a dairy educator and a Christmas tree educator there as well. We'll have a smoothie bike, some archery, all kinds of fun stuff for the kids, some Plinko. So we'd love to see everybody come down.
What a collaboration.
This is this Tuesday.
Yes.
4 to 6.
Yes.
And your office is inside Baker, which has not been there that long, right? You just moved into Baker recently.
Yes, in November.
Okay. Where was the office before?
It was in the county annex building on Lake Street.
Okay.
We were there for several years. We are happy to be in our new space, happy to be collaborating with Baker College on this. We're right across the street from the YMCA, so I've been partnering with them like crazy with their teen after school center and Camp Torrenta. So I'm all over the place.
And you're going to be right across the street from the CTC, so you need to stop over and see us at the Career Tech Center, too.
Yes, absolutely. I've been working with Mark Johnson a little bit over there.
Yep.
So he helped us prep some bluebird nest boxes for our Wild Ones Nature Club. So they assembled boxes and donated them to the Conservation District over in Missaukee County. So...
When she was in Pennsylvania growing up and her parents went to conferences, the number one thing they said is plays well with others. With everybody.
Yes.
You are mentioning such a diverse group of people
Yes.
and things.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
a lot to know. How do you get educated?
Oh, it's hard. I moved to Cadillac for this job. So I was actually living in Harrison and commuting an hour every day until
boy.
the end of February. So winter was real fun on 115.
Yeah.
But I am slowly learning. I feel like every time I make a new connection, they're like, oh, here's 10 more people you should meet. And I think that's what's really awesome about this community. I've met Mary Galvanic, who's running the farmers market in Forest and Farm. I've met Marla Courtney, who's running the after hours market as well, and she's trying to partner with us and bring in Up North Arts, and we're trying to make some awesome partnerships because we're all doing the same thing. We're just in different bubbles. So if we get those bubbles close enough, they just kind of pop into one big one.
That is absolutely true. You know, I have seen more of a spirit of collaboration here in Cadillac in the last year than I think I did in the first 14 years combined, when it comes to people trying to, not competing with each other, but trying to figure out how to be better together. Yeah.
Better together, because if we're all doing it on our own, we're just all floundering out there in Lake Cadillac. But, you know, if we link up, we might be able to reach from one side to the other without too much difficulty.
You were talking about programming. So obviously there are probably people who are listening this morning who might have some skills that they want to pass along, and they might want to serve as a mentor. You talked about your contact information. Programming that you wish you had more of, maybe that you're short on, and you wish you had somebody with a certain skill that could come in and lead something. Is that anything that pops into your mind right now?
I'll go back to the Clover Bud age programming again, those
Okay.
5 to 7 year olds. That's probably the most needed right now.
Okay.
Speaking from other community partners as well. They have the Head Start programs, but what do they do after or in the evenings? What about the people who work 9 to 5 and can't make it to that 3:30 event? So we're actually hosting a Clover Bud Carnival on July 16th at the YMCA in the Lawn. So that will be bringing together a bunch of our community partners that we work with and offering different stations, and the kids will get a carnival ticket and they have to get it stamped at each station, and then they get a prize at the end. So we're hoping to demonstrate what we have to offer, what our community partners look like, and then also maybe get a few volunteers out of that event as well. Other than that, I'd say kids love video games, but they're not getting very much education out of them. So if we had a gamer dad out there that wanted to come in and be a volunteer with 4-H, that would be awesome, because if they could incorporate Roblox or Minecraft or something into a 4-H program, it would go over so well for any age group.
So do you understand, to me, that's an oxymoron, a gamer dad, Rich. We live in a world now, I mean, we're in our 50s, and where dads are gamers.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a new thing, Kate.
Yeah.
You
My
know?
dad was a gamer, so it's not new for me. He was
Oh.
like the original. Like, he learned to code and then, got into gaming and stuff like that.
Well,
so
this explains a lot about what's going on in your head, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up, since I can remember, we had a computer. From age 4, back in 1999, we had a computer. So I grew up with that technology, and I can see it in people my own age. They didn't grow up with it in their house their entire lives. They learned it in school and, got accustomed to it. But my dad was a gamer dad. So it's so weird that, he was the first generation of gamer dads.
Well, conversely, I remember when the public school system, my dad was a phys ed teacher, but mostly he was a coach that taught, right?
Yep.
Coaches that they have to teach, but they love to coach. They gave every teacher a laptop. This is in the state of South Dakota. And he said, that's it, I'm retiring. It's the complete opposite.
Yep.
You see? Mm-hmm. So it's just a new mentality. And yes, let's throw that out there. If there's a gamer dad, get a hold of Kate, because she could use you.
Yes, absolutely.
They speak a certain language, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually bumped into somebody at the Tractor Supply who was from Kalkaska area, but he did robotics. Mm-hmm. And kids love robots. Mm-hmm. We have a junk drawer robotics program where they just we throw out popsicle sticks, rubber bands, old film containers, just a whole bunch of random stuff, and kids build whatever they want to build. And we have, a caring adult there that's leading them through it, talking about physics and potential energy and kinetic energy and all of those little things that go into building a robot that, I have no clue what that is, but I can build a popsicle catapult.
I'm so glad you're young. I want you to do this for the next 30 years because I can feel like there's something special going on with you right now, Kate. Please don't leave Wexford County. Please don't.
We have so many new 4-H program coordinators across the state.
Good.
We've had a lot of turnover in the last couple of years, but we have a lot of young, fresh blood who's coming straight out of college, and they speak the language a little bit better. I still don't always know what the kids are saying. Somebody replied to me and said, bet. And I was like, does that mean yes? But there were 2 questions. Turns out they only read the first one and respond bet.
Okay. Well, good. That's very good to know. Did you know that, Rich?
I'm in a classroom with 16 and 17-year-olds every day from September to June, and I still sometimes don't understand the vernacular.
Okay.
It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Incredible.
So, lots of programs. Do you have a place where there is a listing of all the programs you have, where they meet, when they meet? Is it all in one place?
Yes. So if you Google Wexford County MSU Extension, it'll bring you to a landing page for us that has a 4-H tab on there. And I keep that pretty well up to date. I also send out a newsletter that anyone can sign up for that's on that page as well.
How do you sign up for it?
There's a button. You just have to click, put in your email, and then it comes to your inbox every month.
Okay.
Kate, don't you think that after what we've been through in the last 2 years, and now we're seeing statistically the toll that's taken on mental and physical health, don't you think you're going to see, the stuff that you're building bluebird houses, and amazing. Don't you think you'll see more interest and more engagement because of what we're seeing post-COVID?
I hope so. Okay. I think that people need to realize what we are and what we do. We're not just a bunch of kids on the farm. I was the biggest couch potato ever.
You were?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And then I went to college and studied environmental science and biology. And while I was in Europe, went on a backpacking trip that I thought we were going on small day hikes out and back in. And we ended up backpacking from one mountain hut to another while I was in rundown Nikes and a dollar store poncho during the rain with pink eye. So after all of that, I came back, went to Colorado Springs, and built trails for 6 months on an AmeriCorps program, camping for 9 days at a time with no running water. So that's how I built up some of my skills. I saw a need, decided I needed to fix it. So I'm still not very athletic, but I'm out there with a bow and arrow with the kids shooting. I'm out there in the river with them. We all have abilities, and we all think we have limits, but we just have to show ourselves the limits are further than we think.
So you are probably in a really good position to be an educator because you were a lot like what this present generation of kids is right now.
Yeah. And I feel like we all get to that point, after 25, where you look back and you're like, gosh, if I just would have listened to my mom. Right?
Okay, whoa.
Instead of hearing us say blah, 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 blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, Charlie Brown it up.
Oh, you're making me smile, Kate. In so many ways. I really love the approachability factor. That's so important that these kids come in and they're not intimidated. Me personally, the thought of shooting a bow and arrow, that's intimidating. I'd rather shoot a gun than shoot a bow and arrow. And like you said, the W word, not necessarily for that. I just feel like I couldn't probably control it. So when you're working with someone who says, I started here, or, I wasn't the most athletic person, it makes you believe, you know what, I can try this.
Absolutely. And that's what we're all about. You're not locked into a program. You can join a club and decide it's not for you and change into something else. But we're all about helping the youth find what drives them. We're growing our future leaders. We're helping them find their sparks and helping them thrive.
Yeah.
So head, health, heart, and hand. Tell them in the hands is get dirty. Get in there.
Yeah, it's about hands-on learning. In our motto, we pledge our hands to larger service. So that brings in our community service aspect. Our heart is about, both our physical health and caring and being empathetic and compassionate. You need all of those things when you're in an archery program, because we don't have 4-Hers who get a bullseye and then rub it in their teammate's face. It's about having empathy. When you see somebody not get that bullseye, oh, good job. You're getting better. Like, just wait till next time you're going to get it. That's what our youth are saying to their peers. It's not just the caring adults. We have our health that is for, our fitness, but also our social emotional health. We have a mindfulness program in 4-H. We go into elementary schools and we make little water bottles with glitter, and it's a breathing exercise bottle. It's for them to focus their breathing and count so that they can do their breathing square. We take that into high schools as well. We're hoping to get some programs going in Wexford County with the local high schools to help with their mental health and learning how to communicate their emotions. As teenagers get so frustrated. I remember being so angry all the time, but not knowing how to communicate what was going on because you just have so much in your head and you don't know how to deal with it. So we're here to help, whether that's in the archery program where they're taking a deep breath before they release that arrow, or if it's in the classroom where we're helping teachers have a break while developing real skills with the kids that they're not normally getting out of their standardized testing in school.
I imagine that you're also a safe place for a child to talk to somebody, and they learn, because you said you're pulling competitiveness, or maybe, like you said, gloating out of the factor. Everyone be your best self, that maybe in one another they can find a confidant.
Yes, absolutely. We really push for 4-H to be a safe space to anyone and everyone, no matter how they identify. We really pride ourselves on our inclusivity efforts from MSU and MSU Extension. We believe that everyone has a right to be who they are, and we can help navigate through some of that through our programs.
Lots of good mentorship going on, and this generation of kids, the more mentors they have, the better off they will be.
Research shows that youth need 3 caring adults to have a successful youth development.
And does that include parents?
Yes, but most people have 1 or 2
Right.
parents. You need the third one, so where's that going to come in at?
And it's not always a given that parent at home is
the caring one.
the caring one. Exactly.
Sometimes, we have kids that come through our programs, they are the adult in their family. And sometimes they have younger siblings. So they're already developing in a certain direction. And sometimes 4-H is that outlet for them to go back to being a kid for a second.
Yes.
Where they can just release and be free, be who they are, and take a step away from everything else in their lives.
Most satisfying part of your job, what would you say?
The kids smile. That's actually what made me apply for this job. When I was an AmeriCorps member, I helped the Clare County 4-H program coordinator do some virtual scavenger hunts through the Goose Chase app. I had never considered a path in education. My sister had kids when I was in middle school. So I spent my weekends babysitting toddlers.
Okay.
Wanted nothing to do with kids by the time I got to high school. So I came out of college. I didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to do something good for the environment. Okay. So while I was doing that programming, the virtual scavenger hunt, I created a lot of the missions. You complete a mission, you get points, you get prizes at the end. The missions can be text submissions, they can be video, they can be photos. So I was making these missions where they had to dance like a certain type of bird. They had to do a science experiment. all kinds of different stuff. And then they post them, and you just see the kids' giant smiles when they've got a cutout Smokey Bear and they're in a tree with him, or they've built their campfire and they've got Smokey Bear there telling them to put out the campfire the right way. It was a blast seeing how much fun they were having after being cooped up inside. You know, this was the first summer of COVID. Kids were going camping that had never been camping before, and they didn't know what to do. So this was a great tool for them to have on their phone, and they're exploring nature. The first one we did was focused on forestry to replace a forestry day camp, and we opened it statewide. The second one we focused on fall and incorporated wildlife and forestry and all different aspects of fall. It was so much fun that I was like, well, there's a job. I'm going to apply for it. And here I am. So I'm excited to keep the smiles going. I just came from the Cadillac Farmers Market, and we were doing jump roping and hula hooping. Last week we did a hula hoop contest, and there was a kid that could not keep the hula hoop on his hips to start with. By the end of it, he had over 10 minutes straight hula hooping.
Oh my gosh.
Determination.
Yes.
Right there. He was just bored. His parents were set up. They had a stand, and he's there all day. There's so many of those kids there that are just there all day. So I'm there every Friday with a different kid's activity, and we're learning and we're exercising and we're being kind to each other and not, swinging jump ropes at each other. Staying in the cones so the cars don't hit them,
All the things. If money was no object, if someone said to you, Kate, you can do whatever you want with your program, what would you do?
I would build an archery hall at the fairgrounds.
Oh.
This year, our archery competition will be in the ice arena, with no ice, of course, because it's August. But we would love to have an indoor heated space to continue shooting through the winter. Okay. Our volunteer who does our program here in Wexford County has a heated pole barn, but, it gets to like 45 in January with the heat on. So it would be great to have somewhere indoors that can be used for archery, can be used for a competition. It could also be used by every other club. 4-H is not allowed to own property. Okay. So we have to rely on spaces from other people. So whether that's the fairground or the volunteer's house or our model railroad club was meeting at Toy Town until the recent expansion. Okay. They needed their storage room back. So we're always looking for space and volunteers. So if I could pay volunteers, I would love to do that too.
Oh, I see.
But it would be awesome to have an official 4-H meeting space. Okay. But the good news is 4-H is free to join, so money is no object there.
Wonderful.
And we have so many different opportunities to go around to other counties across the state. We just got back from 4-H Exploration Days, which is a 3-day pre-college program on MSU's campus. So I took 2 youth from Wexford and 2 youth from Missaukee County down in our delegation, and they got to take mock classes that are 4-H run. They got to live in the dorms. They got to eat in the cafeteria. Most of them have never seen a college cafeteria before, so their jaws drop. So those types of opportunities, they usually come with a fee, but we have scholarships available for those kinds of things. We have the Tractor Supply here in town. Every year we have 2 fundraisers that are national with Tractor Supply Company. So if you ever see the Clover Days going on in spring or fall, that money comes back to us locally.
Okay.
And then that's what we use to establish our leadership development scholarships.
Kate, the main reason why we had you in here was to talk about the open house next week, but we've learned so much more than that.
Oh my goodness.
But let's wrap it up with another promo on the open house next week, where, when, why, and all that before we say goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Wexford County, we have several popular services like our soil testing for commercial operations and our lawn and garden. We do pressure canner testing, pest and disease identification, all that kind of stuff. But MSU Extension is so much more than just agriculture. So we have several 4-H staff. We have a community nutrition instructor. We have the Alliance for Economic Success, a pest educator. But at the end of it, we're all educators. We're all here to relay research-based information back to our community. We're here to develop our community and make everyone better. So our open house is July 12th on Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. at Baker College in the first wing. And we will have some cupcakes. We'll have some other refreshments. I'll have the smoothie blender bike so you can hop on the bike and blend your own smoothies. We'll have an adult size and a kid size for that. So everybody gets to participate. We'll have some archery demonstrations, and we'll also have our Money Carnival Plinko set up. And lots of staff. So if you guys have any questions about what MSU Extension does, why we do it, how we're funded, what impact we're making, we'll have all those answers for you there.
Sounds like the perfect time to get familiar with 4-H locally.
Yes.
She is a force of nature, pun intended.
Kate King, who is the Wexford County 4-H program coordinator. Thanks, Kate. We appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Look forward to having you back again anytime you want.
Oh, absolutely.
Cadillac Unscripted, sponsored by Independent Bank on 107.9 CDY. Join us next week when we will have Peter Marinoff from Munson Healthcare Cadillac Hospital with us here on 107.9 CDY.